Hey, hey, welcome in. Let the good vibes all begin. Something good is about to happen. Sure. I've been waiting on you. Got a seat with your name. Started with a coffee chat. Now we about to change the game. You got a story worth telling, and I got a room full of ears. So drop whatever you've been holding. Get ready because your time is here. Because when real people talk to real people, something shifts. When real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it blessed. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment. Come near where every story intersects and every heart connects. From a coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects. Carrie Connects. Connection is the start. Carrie Connects. Entrepreneurs, voices, friends, where inspiration never ends. You did not come this far just to sit in the back. Everything you walk through was getting you ready for that. So step into the light. Let somebody see your face, because the right conversation can change everything in this place. When real people talk to real people, something shifts. And real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it bright. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment. Come near where every story intersects and every heart connects. Over coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Connection is the start. We started over coffee just to see if it was real. Yeah, you opened up and showed me everything you feel. Now the world is watching and they say the very best chance. Carrie Connects is where somebody finally cares. Show up, something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Listen, you know and come near. Every story intersects and every heart connects. From the coffee chat to the main stage, just be who you are. Carrie Connects. Real conversations, real connections. This is Carrie Connects. Show up.
Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to another amazing edition of Carrie Connects. We are super excited to welcome today's guest. We have Miss Colisha Douglas, who is a licensed clinical professional who's going to be sharing her story. And our expert chair is Dr. Michelle Jones-Singer, who is going to be walking us through some interesting information that I wish I had known when I was diagnosed with fibroids in 2005. So I'm so excited today to welcome our guest chair, Dr. Michelle Jones-Singer. She is a board-certified gynecologist, a cosmetic gynecological surgeon, and keynote speaker who is on a mission. I love this. She is on a mission to change how we talk about women's health. And so for more than 20 years, she has helped women to navigate health topics that are too often misunderstood and ignored. And she is passionate about helping people see that women's health is not separate from leadership, it's not separate from confidence, it's not separate from performance. Whether you're at work or at home, it is all a part of it. And I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Michelle Jones Singer. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm not sure if she can hear me. Dr. Jones, are you able to hear me? It looks like she may have been frozen. And I'm not sure what's going on with her sound or her technology. So we're going to remove her from the stage. And then we're just going to bring her back on and see if we are able to hear her. And in the meantime, we're just going to continue the conversation. So as soon as her sound is adjusted, she's going to start us off at 0 and tell us in her own words what fibroids are so that people will be able to understand them. Dr. Jones, are you able to hear us yet? I don't think her sound is working. So let's go into the panelist and let's start with our panelist. And so let's start with Miss Colisha. If you are able to just kind of walk us through who you are, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do, and then tell us your story in your own way.
Okay. So my name is Colisha Amos Douglas, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I have been in this profession for over 10 years, and I have worked with a variety of people in both all settings, hospitals, communities, and so inpatient units, a lot of different settings. And so, that being said, I'm well aware of how these different complications that life may throw our way can impact our mental health.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for saying that. Dr. Jones, are you able to hear us now?
Yes, I am.
All right, all right. So, you know what? It's storming and we've got some technology challenges, but we're going to get through this because this is an extremely important conversation. So, while we have sound, I've done your introduction, which I think was amazing. So, are you able to tell us what are fibroids? Let's just start there.
Well, if you fibroids are a growth in the muscle of the uterus. I tell women to think of it like this, like it's a knot in a tree trunk. It's made from the same tissue as the uterus, but one area just grows and grows and grows. The good news is the fibroids are almost always benign and they are not cancer. Some women have one, some women have several. Some never have them at all. While others have symptoms, some don't at all. Doesn't even affect their daily lives.
Wow, and that's so interesting that you say that. I can't wait to tell my story and just talk about some of the things that I heard about fibroids. But I do understand, Dr. Jones Singer, that by age 50, most women have had at least one fibroid. So why do you think this is not a conversation that women are talking about?
It's just because they think it's just part of being a woman. Heavy periods, pelvic pressure, bloating, running to the bathroom often, being tired all the time because they're losing too much blood. Many women just normalize the symptoms or assume everyone feels this way. There's also embarrassment. We don't mind talking about a bad knee, high blood pressure, or diabetes, but talking about periods or the uterus still makes women feel uncomfortable. And the result is that we just suffer quietly for years before we even ask for help.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And sometimes there are people who suffer for years, and then in my situation, it happened so suddenly that I didn't even really get a chance to think about it or make a decision for myself. So I'm glad that we are having this conversation. So, what are some of the signs that women should not ignore? because I heard you talk about, the bloating, and sometimes there's even the fatigue, and people are just not really understanding the challenges that they're facing when it comes to fibroids. So, what are some of the symptoms that we just should not ignore?
Heavy bleeding, painful periods, using soaking tampons, sometimes two at a time, or pads at a time, pelvic pain or pressure that gets worse, needing to go to the bathroom all the time to urinate, or constipation from pressure on the bowel, or difficulty becoming pregnant, or a lot of miscarriages or pregnancy losses. If they're feeling exhausted, tired, lightheaded, short of breath, just can't ignore that. Heavy bleeding can lead to anemia, and you just have to pay attention to that.
That is really, really interesting. I'm glad that you are bringing up all of these symptoms because sometimes people don't know. And like you said, we kind of normalize these symptoms. And
Yes.
now, as you're talking, I'm getting educated and I'm thinking back to when I had two miscarriages. And now I'm wondering, well, I wonder if that had anything to do with fibroids. Because back then, that was in the 90s, I wasn't checked for fibroids. And after the miscarriages, I just figured it was part of normal life. Sometimes women carry babies full term, and sometimes you have miscarriages. And so I just moved on without even thinking about the possibility or having any knowledge about fibroids at all. And so I know that you spent your career answering questions. You said sometimes women are embarrassed to ask questions. So, what is the fibroid question that you wish more women would just go ahead and ask?
Carrie, I wish women would just say, "Do I actually need treatment?" Because finding a fibroid does not automatically mean you need to have any type of treatment. We don't treat the ultrasound pictures of the fibroid. We treat the woman. If the fibroid isn't causing symptoms, sometimes the best treatment is just simply watching it. If it's causing symptoms, or when there's a conversation about it that's making them uncomfortable, then we deserve to be treated. But observation is what we commonly do, getting follow up ultrasounds every 6 months to a year to make sure it's not growing or pressing on the bladder or the rectum or those types of things.
Absolutely. And that just makes a lot of sense. And I see we have some great comments from people in the audience, both men and women. And so I love that we're having this conversation because treatment is really not a one size fit all. And so a lot of times people just don't understand a lot of times people just don't understand their own body. And because treatment is not a one size fit all, and not necessarily getting into anybody's specific case, but what do you think women should know about their options, at least before they sit down with their doctor?
Well, the first question is not, how do I get rid of this fibroid? The first question is, what is this fibroid doing to my life? Are you bleeding heavily? Do you have pain? Are you trying to become pregnant? Are you close to menopause? How old are you? How large is the fibroid? Where is it located? Treatment may include simply monitoring it or medications to stop the bleeding or control the bleeding. Some procedures shrink the fibroids, and surgery to remove the fibroid is an option, especially for women that want to continue having children. Or finally, a hysterectomy in some situations. But it depends on who's sitting in front of me. I just don't say we need to do this. It depends on what their life dictates.
Absolutely. And I love that you said it depends on what your life dictates because I'm sure there's a woman who's watching right now. She's probably having symptoms and she's putting it off. I remember that I was putting it off and I was doubling and tripling sanitary napkins and still going to work. I was teaching at the time and I was sitting in front of the students on a chair with wheels so that I could scoop myself around the
Oh.
classroom because it was so difficult to walk, but I didn't know what to do. I thought I was just having heavy bleeding at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
for people who continue to put off their appointments, can you talk directly to that person?
Listen, if you've been telling yourself, "I'll deal with it next month," or just don't keep waiting. You deserve to know what's causing the symptoms. Heavy bleeding is not something you have to live with. Pelvic pressure is not something you have to tolerate. Feeling exhausted every month is not something you should accept. You don't have to know the answer before you come for the appointment. That's my job. Your job is simply to come in and start the conversation. You never have to apologize for asking questions about your body. And the earlier we evaluate what's going on, the more options we have. And you deserve answers and to feel better.
I love hearing you say that. I'm the host, so I'm trying not to get emotional, but I just wish that I had a doctor who said those things to me when I was going through that experience in my life. I didn't know what questions to ask, I didn't know who to talk to, and it was just really, really, really a really scary time in my life. And so let's go over to Colisha, because I have a question for you, Colisha. If you would, tell us, when did you first know that something was wrong, and tell us a little bit about what your journey was like.
Okay. So, my husband and I, we waited till later in life to attempt to start a family. Okay. And so, I was in my late 20s at the time when we were attempting to conceive. And so, my awareness to the fibers, the uterine fibroids, happened due to a false pregnancy test.
Mm.
So, when I received the pregnancy test stated that I was pregnant. Went in for the scheduled appointment, and they let me know, no, you're not pregnant, but you do have fibroids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, the doctor, he informed me that I had four, and he also informed me of the size of those fibroids. Um, but I was non-symptomatic. Therefore, treatment was not something that was recommended. He was just going to watch them. He wasn't going to do anything with them. And
Mm.
so, for years, he watched, and eventually, I switched to a different doctor because we were still trying to conceive. Didn't know exactly what was like contributing or affecting that. While working with the new doctor, she continued to the watching process, but while she was watching, at that time, she was like, "Okay, it's either the fibroids or it's your weight. So let's start with working on the weight first." So at that time, I focused all of my energy on losing weight. Okay, so I can get healthier and also to get to this point where I could conceive. And
Mm-hmm.
so, after losing the weight, I was still having issues like with not being able to conceive. I was still non-symptomatic as well. And so, that being said, we continue to try and continue to work at these things. Now, I did not experience the heavy cycles or any of those things during this point of time. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I was anemic though, but I had
Okay.
been anemic my entire life. And so, that being said, she like I said, she continued to watch, but there was a time where my hemoglobin started to drop drastically. Like in a 2 week
Mm.
period, my hemoglobin had dropped dramatically to the point where she said, "Okay, we're symptomatic. Surgery has to happen." Um, pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she told me when we went into this
Mm-hmm.
that on the screen she saw four tumors. They were large. Therefore, she said, when I get in there may be others behind it. And I
Mm-hmm.
asked her, I said, well, when you get in there and when you get these things out, um, I want a picture. Okay. So I want a picture. I need to see this for myself.
Yes.
Mm.
She removed 19 tumors from me.
Mm.
19. Okay. Um,
Mm.
my surgery lasted 4 hours. Before surgery, she had to give me a blood transfusion because my
Mm.
hemoglobin had dropped so low. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, like I said, I was under 4 hours, and she took out 19 tumors. She left four behind because she just couldn't leave me under any longer. Okay. And so, after recovering from that process, we were able to conceive with our miracle baby.
Oh, congratulations. That is such a blessing that you all were able to conceive. I'm so happy for you.
Yep. And I still deal with the fibroids because they're still there. They're still. She told me they would still grow. They would still continue to multiply. My pregnancy was a high risk because of the since she did so much cutting during the myomectomy. They couldn't risk me having contractions, so I was a mandatory C-section. But she timed everything perfect, and
Oh.
the pregnancy went fine, and she got my baby out before I had any issues.
Oh, that's such a blessing. I'm really, really happy to hear that because so many people face so many challenges. And even though this is not a situation that you or I are dealing with in this moment, even though there's still some impact. It still continues to impact us today. It's still something that we get emotional about. So,
Yeah.
what surprised you the most, Colisha, about your journey?
Well, one, I was blessed with an amazing doctor, and she was right there the whole time. But I was very surprised that immediately after the fibers were removed, and also I had to have an HSG as well. But after those procedures, we were able to accomplish the goal of conceiving. Like I was able to be a mom because a lot of times, like when on the mental health side, if you think about it, when you wait till later in life, and you try to conceive and then you can't, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like I have done all these things that that society says I'm supposed to do it like this and supposed to do it like that. So where am I going wrong? Okay. And so I'm here, but my body wasn't here. So I had
Hmm.
to be to work with my body in a different way. And so it was all a process, and it was a journey. It was a journey. It was an amazing journey. Like I said, I had an amazing care team, and still do. But now I was able to conceive.
That is such a blessing. And then, Dr. Jones Singer, did you want to respond?
I think it's wonderful. And your story is a story that's been told over and over. I have experienced that many times. And I'm just so happy for you, excuse me, that you had this success, something that you worked hard for, to be quite honestly. You went through it to get your baby. So I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. That is definitely wonderful. And I'm so happy for you that that was your experience. And so, just briefly, I'll share my story as well. So, my story again, I was a public school teacher. This particular day, I had on an all white outfit, and blood just started running everywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I went to the principal's office and I'm like, I need to go home. I don't know what's happening. The sanitary napkins are not working. Like, I got to get out of here. And the principal was like, oh, you're a woman. Just, suck it up and wait until the end of the day. That was the response from the principal. And so I was very surprised that the principal would say something like that. And so I tried to suck it up and wait until the end of the day. And I got in my car and I actually drove to my aunt's house. Now, the reason that I drove to my aunt's house was because I said if I try and drive home and I'm by myself, I'm not going to make it. Meaning, I really thought that I was going to die because I was losing so much blood. And I went to my aunt's house, and my aunt said to me, you got to go to, and I couldn't even get out of the car. I called my aunt from my cell phone and I'm like, Auntie, I'm outside. Can you come outside? Something is wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. And so she came outside to the car and she said, no, you have to get to the hospital right away. So we get to the hospital right away. They put me in the emergency room and they're saying, well, we have to submit approval, pre authorization. We need to get that from your insurance company. And my body is like, we're not waiting for pre-approval from the insurance company. And by then, laying on my back, the blood was so high up, it was like in my hair. Like that's how high up it was, and all down the back of my legs. And the doctors actually left me in the hallway because they did not have a room. Now, a lot of people might be offended, but I'm one who believes in alignment. And my blood pressure had dropped to like 70 over 50. And so I started hitting the file cabinet that I was next to. And a nurse walking down the hallway heard me, and she checked my vitals, and she started yelling. I don't know if she said code blue or whatever the code was, but that's how I got rushed into an emergency surgery. And so being rushed into an emergency surgery, I wasn't given the option, do you want to have the fibroids removed? Would you like to, try, I think it's called fibroid immobilization. Would you like to try that procedure? I don't even know if that was out in 2005. But I really did not have time to make a decision on my own. And so I ended up having what they call an emergency partial hysterectomy. They didn't just remove the fibroids, they did the emergency partial hysterectomy. And so when I woke up, the hysterectomy was done. I was did not have any biological children at the time. They did the partial hysterectomy, and I ended up adopting a few years later after I got married. So my son, who I got when he was 6 months old, he's now 16 years old. And so while I was still able to be a mom, I feel like that choice was taken away from me in
Yes.
terms of having a birth child, because I wasn't given the option of having the fibroids removed, or did I want to have the surgery.
Yeah.
And so it was an extremely challenging time. I'm still grateful to be able to be a mom, but I think what really surprised me the most was the idea that for women, you're in this situation where you're living through this urgency, and there's this struggle with the insurance company. Like, we
Wow.
have to get pre-authorization. And I'm like, well, I'm dying. My blood pressure is 70 over 50. We need to do something. And so in that rush to make a decision to keep me alive, I ended up having 4 blood transfusions, the partial hysterectomy, and fortunately, I was able to adopt. But that's always just kind of been something that I know a lot of times women don't have these conversations about. And so, how would you respond to that, Dr. Jones Singer?
I'd say that healthcare is a big issue, large issue. In women's healthcare, it's a big issue because we have more things done than men have done. And so a lot of times, I, as a physician, have to really appeal and keep requesting approval for
Mm-hmm.
procedures that women need to have. They don't elect to have. Women
Mm-hmm.
don't want to keep bleeding or having pain or interrupting their life or their financial stability.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate. People are trying to improve this, but absolutely, that is a struggle that many go through as far as making sure that they are healthy.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm so happy that you mentioned is about that financial piece, because as a licensed financial coach, I know that when your health interrupts your life, your money gets interrupted too. And that time away from work, a lot of times, especially for people who may be starting a job, who may not have time off, it's really important that you start to plan financially. I was in my first year as a school teacher, and so we had people, thankfully, in the state of Nevada. I have a really close knit group of friends. They donated their sick time to me
Oh,
because I had to be off work for 8 weeks. But as a
mhm,
teacher, your schedule is built for you, and you don't get to decide when you take off of work for extended
mhm,
periods of time. And I just didn't have the time built up, or the sick time built up, in order to be able to take off. So, in order for me to take off that time and get paid, friends and some teachers that I didn't even know donated the time to me so that I would be able to get paid while I was off of work. And I know sometimes there's even appointments that only happen during work hours. And so these things are not necessarily things that we budget for. Sometimes the days that we need for recovery outrun the sick days that we have, just like I lived it in 2005. And so I encourage people, before you have a health scare surprise, and it's so crazy because all of these years later, that was in 2005, but in 2023, I had another health scare surprise where I had to go to the hospital. They took out 3 more body parts. I'm like, oh my goodness. So you want to make sure that you have your emergency fund set aside before you need it, because that could possibly buy you time to heal without panic, because being stressed while you're trying to recover is extremely challenging.
Yes.
And so you want to make sure that you have your coverages in place before you get diagnosed, because the surgery I had a few years ago, had I not had insurance, I would not be insurable right now because of the current condition that I have. And so I always tell people, get it while you're young, get it while you're healthy, because it is a privilege, not a right. And so you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself. And I say the best time to prepare for an emergency or a healthcare surprise is when you're not having it. Like if your house is on fire, that's not the time to run out and try to buy a fire extinguisher, right? So you really, really, really want to be prepared in advance. And so I'm going to, oh, I didn't push the wrong button, y'all. Okay. So right now, we're going to have what's called our Carrie Connects Community Chat. We're just going to put up a few comments from people who are in the audience and allow them an opportunity to ask questions. We have a few people that want to say hello. This is one of my friends. She's also a medical doctor. She says, hello, my lovelies. Hey, Dr. Howell Canada, how are you? Felipe Cofino, who's in HR, is saying hello. And Therese Lang says this is a great topic today. And I really appreciate that, because that's the reason I do this show. I don't get paid to do it. The guests don't get paid to show up here, but we show up as a community just to make sure that we're providing value to our community. And so I appreciate the people who are saying that this is an important topic. Jackie Hallberg, I love that she stopped in. She actually just donated her kidney earlier this month. And so really grateful that she's taken some time through her healing to join us. And she's saying this, and this is true for me too, Jackie. I didn't realize, Dr. Singer Jones, like how many symptoms, Dr. Jones Singer, I didn't realize how many symptoms there are when it comes to fibroids. And when it
Absolutely.
comes to,
People overlook it. I'm just tired. I'm
yeah.
weak. That's just pressure because something I ate. Oh, I probably have a bladder infection. Those are symptoms that, if you continually have those, must be evaluated. Like I said, you don't have to have the answer before you come in. Let me do that for you. Just come in. Don't ignore it.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you saying that. And this is a great question from Felipe. He says, are there any home remedies for people who want to avoid medication to help them to manage fibroids?
Unfortunately, there are no home remedies, but trying to eat well, keeping hydrated, because the anemia will cause dehydration and that sort of thing. So being hydrated is important, but there are no medications. I certainly wish there were. There's studies that there's some studies that are saying, why do we have fibroids? Sometimes they're researching, is it diet? Is it inflammation? Is it vitamin D deficiency? None of that has proven. We don't even know why they're here. Sometimes we think the reason we have fibroids is typically in your 30s and 40s is because of the preponderance of estrogen and progesterone in your reproductive years. Because after menopause, they tend to shrink. But we don't know. We know that genetics can influence that. So if your mother, your sister, your aunt, those types of things have fibroids, there's a chance that you have a higher chance too. We don't know if it's environmental. We don't know those types of things. So we really don't know the real reasons why women have fibroids.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. And Dr. Kamani Norrington Sand says, thank you for this nuanced discussion.
Oh,
Yeah, and so
our privilege.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And so this is a great comment from our audience. Sorry, we're kind of cutting off your head a little bit. But Therese Lang says, I was not shy about asking questions, but found it hard to convince the doctor that my periods were heavy enough to warrant concerns. She did get treated for anemia, but she believes that we must self advocate.
Oh my, you said a mouthful there. The problem is not everyone listens. Not everyone listens at all, Therese. And so you're in charge. You're in charge. And if that one doesn't listen, you go to another one. Because doctors are people, they have high busy schedules, and some people don't put the same emphasis on what you want addressed. So I can hear what you're saying, and I'm happy that you found out what was going on.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And then we have a special guest who wants to come up on stage. And so let me see if I can get her on stage. This is, let me move the banner. Um, Tanera Green, she is an engineer. And Tanera, are you able to hear us? I'm not sure if she's able to hear
I'm
us or
sorry, I
not.
can't.
Okay, I think she's trying to get her sound
I'm
together.
sorry, I'm trying.
Your hair looks beautiful. Uh, um,
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like jumping in and out, so I can only hear certain things. I don't have a great connection. Uh,
okay, did you have a question
but
or did you want to
yes, I
share your
did have
story?
fibroids.
Okay,
Huh?
go
Yes.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties. I can.
Uh oh. It's a lot of people are having technical difficulties, so we'll give her a chance to see if she comes back. But I did hear her say that yes, she did have she had fibroids as well, and so that just goes to show like it's more common than people think, and there are so many people who have fibroids. So I am so grateful that Colisha and Tanera, were brave enough to get on here, even just to say that, yes, I have fibroids. Sometimes that's just where it starts when we want to even start having that conversation that a lot of women are afraid to have, and they're not really sure what to say at all. And so I want to make sure that people know that this is education, not a diagnosis. So make sure you talk with your doctor about any medical concerns that you do have. So,
That's interesting because many women don't even know they have fibroids. And
yeah.
so we just live and live and live. And then I've many times done an exam and said, your uterus is enlarged. Why don't we get an ultrasound? Now,
Mm,
just because, as I said before, just because on the ultrasound pictures it shows that there's a fibroid, if they're not causing any problems, we don't treat it. We don't treat the ultrasound pictures. We treat the woman that's having the symptoms of the fibroid. But on the other hand, if it's a huge one, basketball size, which I've found quite often, then
mm,
we have to talk about what needs to be done. And there are medications that can help with the bleeding, medications called uterine artery embolization that can go to the uterine artery and block the blood flow to the fibroid and help it shrink. And then it doesn't make the fibroid go away, but it shrinks it. That makes you possible to do a less invasive surgery rather than
mm,
making a large incision. Perhaps we could just do through a little laparoscopic incision. There's MRI ultrasound guidance treatments that we can do that can help shrink the fibroids. So there are things, and of course the fibroid, a myomectomy, which Colisha had, that removes the fibroid to preserve the uterus so that you can have the option of childbearing. And then finally there's hysterectomy when the symptoms become too extreme, too
mm.
intolerable, and those sorts of things.
Absolutely. And I really, really, really appreciate you saying that. So I'm going to ask Kalisha, Miss Amos Douglas, what is one thing that you wish you knew at the start of your journey?
Well, one thing that I wish I knew. Well, I wish I knew in the beginning if it was the what was the if it was the weight or the fibroids that was affecting
Mm-hmm.
my ability to conceive. Um, I wish I knew that part in the beginning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think for me, one of the things that I wish I knew in the beginning was that fibroids are usually not cancerous, because
Hmm.
I didn't know that. And even though I had to go through that emergency surgery procedure, there was obviously some conversation that the doctor has to have with you before they do the procedure. And I was so afraid of cancer that I was like, I don't want to deal with any of this at all. And going through that emergency process, I think that even though it was an emergency, had I been knowledgeable about what fibroids are, what they can do to your body, that they even exist at all, I could have made a different decision. So I think it's a conversation that we should start having, like in high schools, with young women as part of the class, and also with young men, having these conversations earlier instead of, and being more proactive instead of being reactive, I think would help women to be able to make informed decisions.
Yes, the
Hmm.
incidence of fibroids being cancer is so very low. And if it's
Mm,
cancer, it's called a sarcolioma. A
okay.
lyoma means fibroid. And so
Mm,
signs that if say we're observing it, we decided, doctor, it's so small. I'd rather just follow it. Then what we do is we do follow-up ultrasounds. And if it is growing rapidly, we say it is growing rapidly, and I recommend that we at least remove the fibroid, do something to evaluate it. But the incidence of fibroids being cancerous are very low.
wow, that's a shock to hear. And it makes my story for me that much more emotional. And
Yes.
so I would just want to say this: if every woman watching did just one thing for her health this month, what do you think they should do? What would you encourage women to do?
I think they just, if they're having symptoms that they've been putting off, just go speak to someone. Please
Mm,
get evaluated. That is the most important, because if we don't see you, we can't help you. If you're having vague discomfort, if you're having bloating, constipation, frequent urination, pressure, your belly looks bloated and you look like you're pregnant. If you're having deep pelvic pressure, you need to have it evaluated. You know, Annual pap smears aren't recommended anymore, but
mm.
annual well woman exams are recommended. And that's why you go yearly to evaluate your ovaries and your uterus and your cervix if you have a pap smear at that time.
I really, really appreciate you saying that. And I encourage women to connect with Dr. Michelle Jones Singer. Her information is going across the bottom of the screen. She's on YouTube, she's on Instagram, she has her own website. So make sure that you connect with her, follow her across social media platforms, and also make sure that you share this with your network. We know we had some tech issues, but we got the message across. And so make sure that you connect with our guests. The details will be in the comment section across all of the platforms. And make sure you let us know where you watch from. What's your city and state? And let us know the weather. It's rainy here, so I'm glad that my connection at least stayed consistent throughout this, because sometimes we lose power out here in the Midwest. And so I just really appreciate that. And so, um, do you have any upcoming events, Dr. Jones Singer? Any events, any books, any projects that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I'm a keynote speaker. So I don't have any events, but I do keynote speaking. And I speak about how a woman's capacity affects her work performance, her home performance, her
Mm-hmm.
fatigue, the problems that we talked about, menopausal symptoms, midlife issues, reproductive issues. You can have a high performing woman that will push, 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 and it will affect her performance. And it behooves an employer to encourage a
Mm-hmm.
woman to take care of herself and give her methodologies to approach taking care of herself so she can still be a high performing woman in the office and at home and for herself.
Hmm.
I absolutely love that. And now, Colisha, do you have any events that are coming up? I know next month is National Wellness Month, so we're going to try and get you back on here as a licensed professional counselor. But next month is National Wellness Month. But do you have any upcoming events that you want to share with us?
I don't. I don't.
Okay, I just wanted to give you the same opportunity as well. Well, I appreciate both of you being a guest today on Carrie Connects. This is my first community circle. I want to do this once a month, so this is only the beginning. So if today touched you emotionally, if it reminded you of your story or somebody else's, please make sure that you share the replay because we don't know what woman might be carrying this story in silence. And remember, confusion is expensive. We don't know the cost that people are paying by not having this information. So I always say here, confusion is expensive, but clarity pays for life. So I want to again thank both of my guests for being here. Thank you again, Colisha Amos Douglas, for sharing your story. And thank you for guiding us through this conversation, Dr. Michelle Jones-Singer. It has been a pleasure. And continue to drop your comments and questions in the comments section. We will definitely go back and engage with you. I see we have a lot of activity over on LinkedIn. And so we appreciate everybody being here. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, hey, welcome in. Let the good vibes all begin. Something good is about to happen. Sure. Yeah. I've been waiting on you. Got a seat with your name. Started with a coffee chat. Now we about to change the game. You got a story worth telling, and I got a room full of ears. So drop whatever you've been holding, get ready because your time is here. Because when real people talk to real people, something shifts. When real stories meet real listeners, something lifts. Every Saturday we show up and we bring our best. Show up to Carrie Connects and leave it past. Show up, show up. Something is happening here. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. This is your moment, come near where every story intersects and every heart connects. From a coffee chat to the main stage, just bring who you are. Carrie Connects, Carrie Connects. Connection is the start. Carrie Connects. Entrepreneurs, voices, friends, where inspiration never ends. You did not come this far just to sit in the back. Everything you walk through was getting you ready for that. So step into the light. Let somebody